For decades, a specific story has dominated the Western worldview: the belief that all human societies develop in a linear progression toward a single utopian endpoint. This narrative assumes that as societies modernize, they naturally transition into collections of rational individuals. These individuals all want the same thing: the vote, and once they have it, they produce free markets and good government. Western elites turned this belief into a global mission. Over the last 20 years, they have actively pushed to spread electoral democracy around the world, treating it as the only viable path for the developing world. This created a rigid global binary, where democracies are destined for success, while unelected governments are viewed as inherently flawed and doomed to fail. China's economic rise over the last 30 years creates a massive gap in that story. Only a few decades ago, this was one of the poorest agricultural countries on Earth. Meat was a luxury, rationed to just a few hundred grams per person every month. This chart shows the scale of global poverty reduction over that period. China, a one-party state, lifted 650 million people out of poverty. That single country accounts for 80% of the entire world's poverty alleviation during that time. Dominant political theories suggest an unelected system is operationally rigid and illegitimate. Yet China's economic miracle happened without a single national vote. To truly understand how the country is actually governed, we have to look at its hidden core, the organization department. The department functions as a massive, highly competitive human resources engine, operating at a scale that would be the envy of most global corporations. It operates a rotating career pyramid with 3 distinct tracks: the civil service, state-owned enterprises, and social organizations like universities. Every official starts at the absolute bottom. They enter as Kiwan, or clerks, and must work their way up through increasingly elite ranks. Unlike Western systems where outsiders can be appointed to high office, no one here skips the line. Every senior leader begins in this massive entry-level pool. Promotion requires surviving a relentless vetting process. The department conducts annual performance reviews, peer interviews, and even public opinion surveys to decide who moves up. This is a brutal mathematical funnel. Out of nearly 1 million entry-level officials, only a tiny fraction, about 40,000, survive the climb to reach the elite Jew or bureau chief level. At this level, an official is typically managing a district with millions of people or a company with hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. By these standards, recent U.S. presidents like Barack Obama or George W. Bush wouldn't possess the managerial track record required to run a small Chinese county. The leaders at the top of the Politburo reach their positions by surviving this 30-year meritocratic gauntlet. Critics often assume a one-party state is too rigid to fix its own mistakes. The early years of the system seem to confirm this. Mao Zedong's prolonged, unchecked rule led to disastrous historical failures. To fix this vulnerability, the party instituted strict term limits and mandatory retirement ages for its leaders. The party also proved its ideological flexibility by shifting from radical collectivism to the market reforms of Deng Xiaoping, and later allowing private business people to become members. These dramatic shifts reveal a highly adaptable system that prioritizes institutional survival over rigid dogma. If a government doesn't use elections to establish its moral authority, where does its legitimacy come from? In this system, legitimacy is measured by performance. It is derived from the government's ability to deliver tangible results and increasing prosperity. This data reflects the result of that competency. 85% of Chinese citizens express satisfaction with their country's direction, and 93% of Generation Y are optimistic about the future. While corruption remains a serious problem, electoral democracies like India often rank lower on global corruption indexes. This suggests that voting is not a guaranteed cure for systemic rot. Many democracies are currently struggling with a cycle of elect and regret, where approval ratings collapse shortly after an election. In contrast, China's performance-based legitimacy remains high. China's model is deeply rooted in its own culture and history. It does not claim to be universal, and it cannot be exported to other nations. The real danger to the West is the insistence that its own political system is the only valid way to govern. Democracy was essential to the rise of the modern world, but forcing it universally onto others is causing the system to decay from within. China's success proves that multiple valid systems can coexist. We are moving away from a single narrative world and toward one defined by plurality.